for December 3rd, 2020. And I'm going to do an oral roll call to make sure that we have a quorum. So I will identify myself as Steve Rufaro, Chair.
Carol DeSanto, Vice Chair.
Lillian Levy.
James Legret, Board Member.
And Anthony Jarisol, are you here? Okay. At this point, I guess I'd have to ask, I believe we have a quorum.
We do have a quorum.
Okay. And can somebody from staff from DOS verify that we have a quorum, please, for the record?
Hi, this is Dave Mossberg from Department of State. I heard 5 board members indicate that they were here and present. So we do have a statutory number for quorum.
Okay, thank you, David. Because of technical with my printer, I am going to ask Carol DeSanto, Vice Chair, to please go through the agenda because I do not have the agenda physically in front of me.
Thanks, Steve. No problem.
Thank you, Carol. Appreciate that.
Thanks for the roll call and the quorum. And the next on the agenda is the department reports, enforcement and continuing education office with Ernest Delaney.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Good morning. So my enforcement report will cover the period since our last board meeting on October 26, 2020 to the present. Over that time period, we received a total of 3 new appraiser complaints. We also closed the investigation on 4 at time. Of the 4 that were closed, 1 was closed as no violation, 1 was closed due to specific evidence, and the remaining 2 were referred to the county's office with a recommendation of disciplinary action against the appraiser. Lastly, our appraiser complaint caseload is 43 cases. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Hi, everybody. This is me. Just a suggestion. We're getting a lot of feedback. So if anyone who's not speaking, if you could please put your phones on mute, that may help with the audio. Thank you.
Thank you.
Were you able to hear my enforcement report, or should I go over it again?
No, I heard it. Carol and the rest of the board members, did you hear Ernest's report?
And Ernie, I assume that you will file that in writing so that it'll be part of our minutes. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ernie? Thank you for your report. The next report is from processing report from Emily Lupe.
Carol, do we need to vote on Ernest's report, or is that Whitney? Do we need to vote on that?
I don't think so.
No, we don't.
Okay.
We just accept it. Yeah. Is Emily available?
Yeah, I'm ready. Good
Thank
morning. So included in the materials you were provided, you will find licensing statistics for November 2019 and November 2020. The report shows the number of real estate appraisers broken down by county and by class code or license type. The 2020 numbers include only licensees and do not include those licensees whose licenses may have expired and are covered by Executive Order 202.11, which allows individuals licensed by the Department of State to extend the expiration of their license during the state of emergency. The executive order is set to expire December 3rd, 2020, which is today. And if it is extended, we will receive notification and this information will be posted to our website. And that is the processing report. Is there any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Emily. The next report is qualifying education update from Marcy. Marcella, are you available?
Good morning. Good morning. This is an update to the report given at the October 26, 2020 Real Estate Appraiser Board meeting. In March 2020, the department began following the AQB ASC guidelines as they pertain to live distance education without modification for continuing education courses already approved for a traditional classroom setting. Then in September, the department began including new and already approved qualifying and continuing education courses in accordance with the AQB ASC guidelines as they pertain to live distance education without modification. To date, 2 schools have submitted applications to offer their qualifying courses via live distance education and received approval from the department. Currently, 7 organizations offer online delivery of qualifying courses with IDEC approval. This concludes my report. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your report. Next on the agenda are action items from David Mossberg regarding fair housing regulations and fair lending notice.
Hi, good morning, everybody. So as a follow-up from our last board meeting, as the members may recall, there was a subcommittee created to examine whether or not new educational criteria should be added to the appraiser curriculum for all licensed certified categories for original or qualifying education. And so as part of the subcommittee working with some board members as well as program staff, working through some of the issues, we are proposing for board consideration new amendments to Title 19 to require fair housing education with respect to continuing education. The proposal being proposed at this time determined that because the qualifying education and had less flexibility to some degree with respect to the overall hours, whereas in the continuing education, there were 28 hours mostly of elective courses that we do the audits for the for the continuing education, and also the fact that with respect to sort of the newer appraisers, how they are supervised in order to sort of make it as most efficient and fair to the industry. We sought to propose new regulations only in the area of continuing ed as opposed to original qualifying. And so in your board packages, there should be a draft regulatory proposal, and I'll go over that now with everybody. Hopefully, I'll be able to address any questions that any of the members have. And then hopefully there'll be a vote to move forward. One thing that I would like to note in the board materials, and I apologize, there is a typo. So just to address that initially, the first section amendment to 1107.2 of Title 19, you'll see there's an A and B paragraph. Technically, we have to correct the A paragraph by putting a little underline on it. So I just want to go on record and suggest that if in fact the board does move forward with the regulation, it will be slightly modified into what everyone sees, in that there needs to be a little underline under the parenthetical A, but otherwise it should all be the same. So the first part of the proposal is to amend section 1107.2 by adding a new paragraph B. So in order to add a new paragraph B, we have to define what exists as a paragraph A. That's why there needs to be an underline. And what that section would require would be, starting January 1st, 2022, that every licensed or certified appraiser within the existing 28 hours would have to complete a course in fair housing and fair lending or its equivalent, as required by section 1107.33 and 1107.34. Those sections, 1107.33 and 1107.34, the sections to be added by this proposal. Those sections do not currently exist. And so those are the fair housing sections that we plan on advancing through this proposal. So to begin, because there's not enough time really to add it to effective January 1st, 2021, that's why it starts January 1st, 2022. And it also coincides with when the schools would submit their, criteria, their curriculum proposals for continuing ed. So that's how we pick that date. But as I'll explain later, the rule will go into effect earlier than that, hopefully, so that educational institutions as well as students could, in theory, take the class earlier, and then it would satisfy part of the requirement. But doesn't actually become a mandatory requirement until January 1st, 2022. So the way it would work is that under 1107.33, which is the new section to be added, students who have already taken a course in fair housing and fair lending, so really it would be the RE2 or the GE1, which are courses which already exist. Those are found in 1103.9 and 1103.11 of Title 19. Those individuals, if they've taken those electives, would have the option of taking a 4-hour continuing education course on fair housing, and then that would be offered under the new section 1107.35B. If a student or an appraiser has never taken any of those courses, either the RE2 or the GE1 course, before January 1st, 2022, they would be required to take a more extensive 7-hour fair lending course. And then thereafter, once they've taken that longer 7-hour course, or as I mentioned, the RE2 or the GE1 course, for every subsequent renewal thereafter, they would just sort of have the option of taking either the 4-hour or the 7-hour. Either one would satisfy the continuing education requirement. So that's the purpose of 1107.33, and it just specifies, again, depending upon whether or not the applicant has taken either of those courses prior to that date, would dictate which course they would have to satisfy under 1107.34. New section 1107.34, as contained in the outline, really is just sort of what the course criteria would have to satisfy. The 7-hour course includes topics such as fair housing, fair lending, as well as the history of lending. And then the 4-hour course, which is part B of that section, is a shorter course. It's supposed to be sort of an update on it, and that only requires 4 hours. So the proposal, as indicated, should substantially be the same to what will hopefully be the final course, with the caveat that, as I mentioned, we need to add a little underline to that parenthetical A, which appears on the first page. It's, I believe, line 5. The way that it would work is the rule would be proposed as a formal notice of proposal in the state register. Thereupon, it'll be open for public comment. Once the statutory window for public comment closes, it may be that we would recommend additional changes to the board for consideration. And then it would be considered and then potentially adopted. And then hopefully, as I mentioned, will be effective prior to January 1st, 2022. It should be available sometime in middle of January 2021. So as I said, the students could take it earlier if they wanted to. They would have it for their first renewal in 2022, and then thereafter they could take either course. So I apologize. I know that that was a lot to go through with respect to the regulations. So I guess at this point, I'll open it up to the board members, see if anyone has any questions or concerns that I might be able to help with.
So David, I just wanted to let you know that the new version with the underline A did go out to the board members prior to the meeting. So they do have a copy of that change.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. And I didn't know whether you were aware. It didn't go out with the original package, but it was, did go out. Did he send it out as a follow-up?
Oh, perfect. Sorry for any confusion with respect to the text. I was looking at the one that's
I didn't want to
posted
stop
online.
you. It was a lot of information.
Yeah, apologize for that. So I guess, as I mentioned, I'll open it up if any board members have questions about the actual rule, the text, or any sort of the procedural requirements.
This is Jim LeGrad. I have one question with regards to procedural, with regards to the 1107.33 as it would relate to C, in terms of how would the notification get out to the existing base? Imagine a high percentage of folks have not taken the class and would fall in that category.
I guess I don't understand the question. So 1107.33, you're asking how would the students know which one to take?
No, they would take, they'd have to take a class, but C, how would, upon renewing, how would an appraiser know that they would have to take that?
Jim, this is Whitney. You're asking how we'll notify licensees of the requirement?
Correct.
Yeah, so what we'll do, if this rule is formally adopted, we'll certainly be posting the information on our website, and we'll also be sending letters to the licensees and emails if we have email addresses on record, just to make sure everyone's aware of the new requirements.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I suspect also to add to that is that the schools, will probably provide information to the students as well, because it is a new course, and that the schools will, seek.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah.
Get instruction on it. It's probably something that they'll offer as well to the community. To say, hey, if you haven't taken the RE2 or the GE1, you have to take this course, and then after your first renewal,
that's a good point. I'm sure they would do that.
I think another way of making sure that the word gets out is to notify any appraisal organizations like the Institute in New York State, that to make so that any organizations or groups make sure that they get the word out to their members. Any other questions for David regarding the proposed legislation? Steve, are you there?
Yeah, Carol, I'm here. Can you still hear me?
Yep, I can.
Okay. So just a note, I'm assuming as soon as we pass this, that one of us will reach out, or all of us can reach out to NYSAR, possibility of sending through their newsletter blast information.
Absolutely. I think that would be a really good idea, because there's a lot of appraisers that are members, and also, there's different organizations that we should be reaching out.
Yeah, definitely.
I will make a motion to accept, and if you can have a second, or something, got to make a motion to accept. Then, Steve, you were really running them. I'm just kind of.
No, you're fine. I'll make a second. I'll make a second to accept the motion.
So this is Dave, just for the purposes of clarifying the vote and motion.
Yeah.
Could I suggest that the board vote to propose the fair housing regulatory proposal as a formal notice of proposed, and then also authorize the Department of State as appropriate to file a later notice of adoption. Sometimes, when we publish these rules, we receive no public comments. And so there would be no changes to the rule. And so there would be really sort of no point to bring it back to the board for an additional board vote if we're not scheduled or anything. So consistent with sort of the last votes that the board has made with respect to regulatory proposals, if I could just suggest that the vote be to move forward with the proposal, and then also to authorize the Department of State as necessary or if appropriate to file a notice of adoption at the close of the comment period.
Okay, so David, you're asking us to make two proposals,
No.
one to accept.
I'll withdraw my original, and then we will replace it with, actually, probably should, I'm just wondering if it should be moved by someone outside of the trends subcommittee. Does that make a difference, David?
No, because ultimately it still requires
Okay,
majority vote of the full board. So anyone could make it.
okay. Then I will make a motion for the board to, don't want to mess this up. Can I just make a motion based on David's proposal?
Yes, you can just move what David had
Thank
suggested.
you, Ellie. I need you here.
Makes it a lot easier.
Stepping in, Lily.
So I'll make that motion, and
I'll second the motion.
Perfect. Any discussion? Want to call for the vote, Steve?
I call for the vote on the proposed motion. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Do we need to take a roll call on that, just to make sure?
No, we don't need a roll call, just a voice vote.
Or
is fine.
Okay.
Okay, so now we need a motion on the second portion of David's proposal. I'll make a motion on the second portion of the proposal.
With
David,
that,
you might want to state what that is again, just generally for the motion.
So it was just to confirm that the board is directing the Department of State and program staff to file a notice of adoption as appropriate at the end of the close of the comment period. So for example, we received 0 public comments, or all the comments are, in support. We would just go ahead and file the notice of adoption, similar to all the other prior rules that we've issued for the board.
All right, so moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So cleared.
Perfect. I do want to back up, Steve, because everyone received the last meeting minutes in their board packet, and we didn't take a vote to approve that. Those meeting minutes, I assume that everyone has gone through them. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll move to accept those minutes from the, is it 10/26 meeting?
I'll second it.
Oh, together.
Steve?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay.
Any opposed? Okay. Under new business, there is an executive order update. David Mossberg.
Hi, everybody. Before we get to that, I think there's the fair lending notice item, also under the action item. So in everyone's board package, there should be a draft proposal. It notes on the top, notice to all real estate appraisals, guidance regarding prohibited discriminatory practices. It sort of dovetails nicely with the regulation that the board just voted to advance. We had received, I believe, a question actually from Carol, so thank you for presenting that to us, seeking sort of clarification as to the liability potentially with respect to appraisers that are engaging in discriminatory practices, and really sought clarification from the division as to whether or not there's any sort of remedy or recourse as against the appraiser that potentially is engaged in discriminatory practices. And so the draft document that has been presented to the board is sort of the division's position with respect to discriminatory practices. And so what this document makes clear is that if in fact, there is evidence which suggests or indicates an appraiser is in fact engaged in illegal discrimination or contributes to illegal discrimination, that does actually violate the use PAP. And in the draft document, we actually quoted the advisory opinion of the ASB, the Appraisal Standards Board, confirming that it does constitute inappropriate conduct. And because it does violate use PAP, that does also authorize the department to potentially take disciplinary action under the New York executive law. So this is just sort of a reminder that discrimination is prohibited and that appraisers could be subject to discipline if they're found to engage in that sort of behavior. So this isn't been sort of posted on the website yet or available to licensees, but this is really just something that offers the position of the division with respect to that question. So we just wanted to send that to everybody so that everyone was aware. And again, if anyone has any questions or concerns, I'm going to try to address them if I can.
Well written.
Thank you, Carol.
I guess do we need to move to accept this, David, then?
I don't think there's anything necessarily to accept. It was really just sort of for the board's awareness and to show sort of responsiveness to the question.
Will it be available on our website, this notice also?
I believe that was the plan, but I'll defer to Whitney or anyone else on the call.
It's a great notice just to clarify everything.
Yeah, this will be Whitney. This will be posted on our website.
Thank you, Whitney. That's great. And we don't need to do anything else with it. It just will. It's just a notice. It's a notice, and we can distribute this wherever.
Yeah, I would recommend waiting until we remove the draft watermark.
Yeah.
I guess obviously, if any of the members have any questions about it or would suggest sort of changes to it, that's why we're sort of presenting it. Okay. But if the members are sort of satisfied and are in agreement, really there's nothing to do. We would just remove the watermark and make it as widely available as possible.
Are there any questions about board members or members of the public that may? Okay, I think we're good, David. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. And so now I'll go to the original new business item, which is the executive order update. want to thank Emily. She spoke about it briefly in her presentation, but there was that EO relating to the license extender. So I won't repeat what Emily had said. The only thing I would add, certainly relevant to real estate transactions, is that the EO extending the remote notarization is also set to expire today. And obviously that's important for, the industry. So as with the other EO, if it's extended or there are updates, I'm sure it'll be posted on our website. But other than that, there's no other update with respect to that.
At this point, you're saying we do not know whether it will be extended or not. It expires as of today, correct?
Correct. I haven't been told, one way or the other. So it's just a matter of just waiting to see, I guess.
We can only report what we know. All right. Other business, Becky Jones, a member of the public, has asked to speak on a couple of issues that she has questions on. Is there any new business from the for the board? Okay. So, Becky, do you want to speak about the topics that you wanted to bring before the board?
Yes, thank you so much. And hopefully you all can hear me. I apologize. I had technical difficulties, so I'm now on my phone. I took a course via Zoom, and this particular school happened to be out of Texas. They advertised it as being New York State approved, and I received my certificate and there was not a course code on it. So I did speak with the person in charge and had a very lengthy conversation with her and talked with her how the New York State licensing requirements are. And my concern is, in our licensing law, under the equivalency, and I've done this before where I've physically been out of state and have taken a course, and then I fill out the application with the proper documents to get approval for it. My concern with this particular school is when I spoke to her, they're using that equivalency as a way for this school to do New York State continuing education without it getting approved before they present the course. So I just wanted to bring it to the attention to the board that this is a practice that's taking place.
So I guess I just want to speak on this. And maybe to my knowledge, there's been no change. That you need to have a course that is provided. If it's provided by Zoom, is that not considered? It's considered where the school is at. If you're not physically out of state, so it's how do you present that criteria for approval to the state, or do we need to get the word out that these schools that are presenting by school, they're presenting by some sort of virtual course, are not located and not getting pre-state approval? This could be an issue moving forward for the next education cycle because of misunderstanding on the parts of the schools. And I think we need to be clear about this one way or the other. And I don't know, Marcy, can you speak to this at all?
Let me jump in for a second here, because Becky and I had spoken about this previously, and and I guess I'm looking more for guidance from possibly David or Whitney, or is this more of a concern with the DOS, with the schools directly, than what the appraisal standards were? I know that our appraiser members are, could be caught in the situation. I'm wondering if the correction should be made to the schools and not necessarily through the board.
That's all part of the department.
So, this is Jody. Can I just maybe make a suggestion? Becky, I think if you send the specifics to the department, we can take a look at the school, take a look at the course and how it's being delivered. But I think it's important to point out that they shouldn't be advertising that it's a New York State approved course if it actually hasn't gone through our approval process. So we know that an avenue is for someone to get equivalency credit for an out-of-state course. But I think until we have the details of the specifics, the specific information, I think it would be beneficial if we're able to look into all aspects of the course in the school before we give an opinion about it. I don't know if, Whitney or Amy has anything to add or disagrees with that.
No, Jody, I agree. That's what I was going to say. Why don't you send it to us? We'll take a look at it. If we see any issues, we'll address it with the school.
Yeah.
Okay, this is Becky. So, and I think you guys know, because I've had other situations, not this specifically, but because kind of out there, right? I get a lot of complaints. So what I do, and I know Marcy, you and I talked about this with another complaint that I actually filed. I always go to the person that's doing something that appears to be, not on board and have a lengthy conversation with them, and hopefully they can fix it on their own before I formally make a complaint. And that's what I did in this situation is I spent a good hour and a half with this person, and I actually know this person through the teaching stuff. She's assuring me that they're going to look into it and they're going to make corrections. If I check on them in about a month and they don't, then I will go ahead and send the information. Because I almost feel that sometimes people just don't know rather than they're doing it on purpose. If you got what I'm kind of putting down there. So that's what I've done is I've gone to them and said, here's the law. You need to look at this and then, check your, your compliance officer that's saying that you can do this.
Okay, that sounds like a good approach.
And I also think that we've had a couple of complaints to board members from people, licensees within the state of New York who took courses that were advertised as being approved within the state of New York, and they were not. And I don't know if there's what we as a board can't fix that, but we just want to bring it to the attention that schools should not be advertising anything if they don't have approval for those courses. They should say that they're pending approval if they've applied. I don't know how we get the word out to caution. It's beyond me when people don't have the courses approved and they say they are. I don't understand that, and it places the appraisers in our state in a position that they may have taken courses that there's not approval, and especially if you were given in New York State, there's no alternate way for them to get. They can't get that course approved. The school has to have it approved. I just wanted to bring that up because it has come up this year again. We've received some complaints from the public and from appraisers regarding this, and I'm not sure what the solution to that is.
Well, if you see anybody that's out there doing it, certainly contact our office. We don't really hear about it that often, But if you bring it to our attention, we'll reach out to the schools and make sure they understand.
I think, and
Now, does that need to be in a formal complaint when we see this, or is an email sufficient?
I think that an email is sufficient, and we'll contact the school.
Okay.
But if if it's a school that continues to do it and you're aware of it, then maybe a complaint, and then we'll do enforcement action.
Okay, good. Because that way, and that's kind of like the concern, right? You don't want to get them in trouble. They just need to be educated.
Right.
Right.
yeah, that's where I was going.
Okay. Are there any other, is there any other new business or questions from?
This is Amy. I did have a item that I wanted to talk to the board about that just recently came to my attention. So I guess my understanding is that there's a recent criteria change that allows for another pathway for appraiser applicants to meet the experience requirement. It's the practical applications. Mm-hmm. It allows for the ability to gain practical experience in a virtual environment that combines theory and methodology in real-world simulations. So I talked to Dave about it. Somebody brought it to our attention. I talked to Dave about it, and he said that in order for us to allow that, in New York State, it would need a regulatory change. So I don't know a lot about it. I think that we were talking about maybe we should develop a subcommittee to talk about it and to see if it's something that New York State wants to move forward with. It becomes effective January 1st of 2021. I'm sure that we're not going to have a regulatory change by that time, but kind of wanted the board's opinion on whether they're in favor of this type of experience, the way to obtain experience for an appraiser applicant.
Thank you, Amy, for bringing that up. That was just recently approved by the Appraisal Foundation.
Right.
And I did attend that meeting. Jones, our public member, also is very well aware of this regulation, and she actually participated in some of this as the NAR representative to the Appraisal Foundation Advisory Council, which he has been representative for the last 3 years, and I am taking that over in January. So we're totally aware of what's going on, and I think that having a work group is advised whether we want to move forward with this approval. This really came out of history behind this was the difficulty that appraisers are having after finishing their education, their primary education requirements in finding supervisory appraisers to get their experience credits with, and that some New York can adopt it or adopt parts of it or whatever. It's just that now the Appraisal Foundation will allow it, and it's up to each state to do what they want to with it, of course. And we haven't had a chance to get together and discuss it as a board yet, and I'm not sure if most of I don't know where most of the board is in getting up to date on this subject, but I think something like the Trends Task Force that has just been working on a couple topics recently. This is also a really good topic for this task force, and I would also ask for any other members of the board to please step up and participate in these work groups, because it's all good information, and we were able to get things done to bring before the board. So I really appreciate you bringing that forward, Amy, that discussion forward. And
let me make a suggestion at this point, Carol, because you're kind of going where I was going to go.
Yep.
Amy, why don't we get the information to Denise? Why don't we get out to all the board members? And I'm making a request of some of the other board members that we have a little more involvement in the trends committee, because I think there's knowledge out there among all our board members to make it more of a well-rounded discussion. I think if we got the information out to them, I had read some stuff about it, but I haven't really educated myself completely on it. But I think if we have the input of all the board members, we're going to end up with a better resolution to the consideration at hand. I think there are parts of it that are good. I think there are parts of it where we can have our legal counsel weigh in, whether it be from a board member or from David or from Whitney. So I think at this point, whatever we have, Jody, whatever was sent to you, or whatever Carol or Becky can furnish, why don't we get it out to all the board members and have a more fuller discussion with other people involved than just the immediate trends committee.
So this is Becky. Let me jump in. What I'm going to do, I actually have the second exposure draft that was approved in August. So yeah, I got involved with this in 2017. To give you a little background, and thank you so much, Amy, for bringing this up. Here's the deal with this. So it's been approved at that level. However, how is it going to be delivered? That's the problem. So the Appraisal Foundation was struggling. Are they the one that's going to put the $1 million in to create? Because what we're talking about here, guys, is virtual reality training, not the online training or the distance learning. So what the foundation approved is the exposure draft of moving forward with this. And now where this is going is it's been sent out to the educators that do virtual reality type of training to see if they're willing to develop the modules, so then those modules can be accepted. So and I love Steve's suggestion about getting up to par on this, because a decision is going to need to be made. However, at this point, there's no way of delivering this type of experience credit as of yet.
There are two things that really concern me. There are, and I'm going to reflect to someone on staff, there's always concern about the Department of State and State of New York being able to, on a computer-based experiences, being able to accept those electronic credits within the system and people getting credit for them. But from a professional concern is, my personal concern is the fact that we have a lot of people that are getting online and computer-based experience, and they're losing out on a lot of the practical experiences that you pick up.
Steve, I'm going to interrupt you. Steve, I'm going to interrupt you. This has nothing to do with computer. It's all virtual reality.
I understand that, Becky. What I'm saying is virtual reality, a virtual inspection versus an actual physical inspection, the person you're supervising loses so much in translation. My concern are that we're going to be churning out people that have all this computer-based learning, whether it be a virtual inspection or a computer-based course, that they don't have any actual hands-on physical inspection experience, that they're going to lose the practical portion of the occupation.
And that's exactly what the AQB in the second exposure draft is discussing. So that's why I think it's a great idea to get the task force together, so those basic questions can be answered, because they've been beaten to death by the white suits in the Appraisal Foundation area. So, and I've been part of that, and that's why I think it's great to get this task group together. So when this does get approved and it is available for our New York State appraisers and potential appraisers, then we're on top of this.
Well, and my concern somewhat lies with the supervisors of the apprentices, because, do they feel they're extending them a full education and experience in experiencing the physical portion of the occupation? So, but you're right. It's really, I'm going beyond where I wanted to go. It's really a discussion for the Trends Committee with everybody's participation.
Yeah. Okay, well, the department will send out the information that they can find on it to all the board members. They can indicate whether they want to be part of the discussions, and as this moves forward, you know, at that level, at that higher level, you know, New York State will be aware of it, and we can, you know, make any kind of regulatory change that we think will work with New York. So it was just a topic that, you know, since it's effective January 1st, you know, we're getting inquiries already from schools and individuals. So we just want to make sure that we, you know, have a decision on how we're going to move forward, or at least be looking into it. So we'll get that information out to everybody, and, you know, and we'll see where we are for the next board meeting and whatnot. So
Okay.
Thanks
It's definitely a good topic. Thank you.
Any other topics of new business? Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
Denise, I have proposed meeting dates for 2021?
Yes, I just wanted to make a quick comment as in regards to the 2021 meeting dates. I'm going to be sending out an email to everyone soon. And if you have any dates that you would like me to avoid when scheduling meetings next year, please let me know. Or if you have days or times that are preferable, I'll try to accommodate that. And that's it.
Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
Steve, I think that's most of the agenda, unless there's any other items that anybody needs to discuss.
No, you can close it up, Carol. Wonderful.
If there's
I apologize for my technical issues with my printer.
That's okay. We work together. We can do this. With that being said, if there's no other business to come before the board today, I call for adjournment.
I motion.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for all of your
everyone.
work. And thank you very much to the work group. We put a lot of hard work to propose legislative changes and a lot of thought. And in this year where everything has been trying, I really appreciate all the work everybody's done. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all.
Bye, guys.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah. Have a good year.
Thank you. Bye-bye.